Welcome to the Be Dadly podcast, where we discuss all things dadly, from being an entrepreneur while caring for toddlers to raising screenagers and talking the birds and the bees. We're here to help you traverse the vast and dynamic landscape of fatherhood. Enjoy practical advice, lots of puns, and even a few heart-touching moments.
And the dad jokes are pretty good too.
And now your host, Brandon Jones.
And welcome back to the show, you guys. I'm Brandon Jones, your host for the Be Dadly podcast. And today we're doing something pretty cool here. We are going to cap off this second season. Woohoo! Woohoo! Season with my guest here. This is actually the producer of the show. This is John Profit. John helps me make these podcasts awesome, helps me with the intros, helps me with marketing, and does a lot of really, really cool stuff for Be Dadly. He's a creative mind, and he's really helped me out tremendously. And so for this episode, we wanted to take a moment to go through this season, talk about some of the things that we've done this quarter, and kind of give a recap on some of the really awesome stuff that we're up to. And I think this
a lot has happened in a very short time.
Exactly. So we're going to take a moment to share some of those cool things, make sure that we've kind of got you guys in the ecosystem checking it out, and that you know what Be Dadly is up to, because we are up to a lot.
A lot, yeah. And there's a lot of movement happening now, thanks to a little addition to the ads team for a while that helped out a lot.
100%.
Yeah. A little shout out to the current team. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're one of the things that we want to talk about, along or within this ecosystem is really about helping dads be entrepreneurial. Because I know in my own life, when I decided that fatherhood was a path that I was going to take, the last thing I wanted to do was be like my dad, who was basically totally occupied by work all the time. Mm-hmm. And so having that time, and I know a lot of dads out there are in that situation now, if it's something that you love, find your way, find your balance point, because, kids need your presence as well. But if you're something that you don't love, we really want to encourage and help facilitate your ability to get out of that scenario where you're having to trade time for money and having to basically give up this really, really important, significant time relationship that can only be developed by being present with your child. And so that's kind of part of one of the things that we want to add to the ecosystem as we go along. We got to do things step by step, but that's something that we want to encourage for you as well, and give you resources and access to, which was kind of part of the last podcast we did.
Yeah. Part of what we're trying to do here is basically bring you guys content that you can use right away, whether it be the parent coaching, but also the entrepreneurial stuff and the kind of, lessons that we're hearing from our guests. We're really trying to bring people on that are doing things well and that have something to share. And the whole pursuit here is to help you have both a better experience with your children, but also be the kind of dad you want to be. And a lot of times that is about the entrepreneurial path. It is about maybe the business path or your personal development, your mindset. And so we're trying to bring more of that to you as well.
Yeah, whole people make better parents. Full
sure.
And satisfied, and just having done all of this work is personal growth work. So whatever entrepreneurial, I think Brandon and I can both attest to starting businesses, being in the startup phase with this thing, and he's had various ventures. I've almost never had a quote unquote day job. I've always created jobs for myself, occasionally been leveraging IP or leveraging other people's time and talent and making a little profit off the top of that, but mostly been able to direct my own time and sort of, and sometimes at an expense. Like I haven't achieved as much as I think I would like to have in a perfect world in terms of the economic part of that. But the trade-off is that I get a lot more, I'm building a much stronger relationship with my son than if I were forsaking that just so that I could, have a better car or a better house or whatever that looks like. So I'm not saying you have to forsake those things, but there's the sweet spot, and that's where we're all trying to get to. So yeah. And so, like I said, everything is personal development work, and that just spills into your parenting. It spills into your relationships with your employees or how you want to design your life. It spills into your relationship with your spouse. And, it's just this is the foundational work. And so that's why we touch on so many of the things that we touch on in the podcast.
Yeah, 100%. I will say, when we said a vast and dynamic landscape of fatherhood, I had no idea how vast that would be and how dynamic it really is. But one thing comes through over and over again. It's about love. It's about putting in the work. It's about being the kind of person you want to be and being willing to make the repairs when you're not being that kind of person. And it's about finding and reaching out to those other guys, those other dads that are maybe modeling something that you appreciate about them, and then getting in there and asking them, learning from them, saying, "Hey, tell me how you did that. How do you do what you do?" And being humble and willing to take those lessons. And so, I think that's a great way to start this off. That's something we definitely feel very excited about sharing with you guys as we go through and continue this journey towards the Be Dadly pursuit. And we wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you guys about some news happening with with Be Dadly. Almost had a little Freudian slip there. There's another company that I'm involved with that almost popped out there. So with Be Dadly, some of the news that we've got going on. So first of all, we launched a course this quarter.
Right.
Which is called Dadly Discipline. The course is awesome. It's already going really, really well. We're in module 3 of 4 right now. This weekend on Saturday, we're doing module 4. Got a handful of dads in there that are putting in the work and really learning a lot. And then on Wednesdays, we're doing group, which has been super, super rewarding. And honestly, it's probably my favorite thing because, man, it humanizes us when we get in there and we say, hey, we hear somebody, for example, describe their struggles and they're like, wait, do you live at my house?
Right. Yeah. Empathy builder.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so the group has been amazing. I've been hearing a lot of really good feedback from the course. Things are working for these dads. And some of the stuff that we're sharing common pitfalls, all the things like timeouts and reminding and groundings and all these different things that are really ineffective, and then what to do instead. And there is a handful of tools, and they're really, really great tools. They can be applied in multiple different ways, and you kind of get this great toolbox with you so that you know how you will respond whenever your children are not being the most cooperative.
The ideal child that you might want in a given situation. I actually just talked to a mother on Mother's Day. She was our server at the Mother's Day brunch that I took my son's mother out to. And, mothers are all about it, generally speaking. So this is something I think that we can take from that mindset. And she had a child who is now 14. They had homeschooled pretty much, her entire life. Very strong bond between her and her daughter, which was, awesome. And then, she was pregnant with another one. And she was like, I'm getting my, I guess it's like a child psychology degree, and she's like, I'm really going to be, extra prepared for this next one, even though I think that she was a very clearly competent mother for the first 14 years, like still upping her game, still feeling like, oh, I've got a 14-year-old. I know how to do this thing. It's like still that willingness to learn more about child psychology and development, and just get into that space of being willing to receive an upgrade to your skill set instead of having a sort of pride or a hubris around like, oh, well, this is all instinctual, right? Or I'll figure it out, or it's good, or whatever. I mean, it's that lifelong learner attitude that makes any pursuit a success. And especially when it comes to parenting and really relationships in general, we have some really misguided assumptions about how those things should go based on so many programs that we're running in our own head that may or may not work for us. And I think that's, and all we have to do is just be self-reflective to see whether those things work or not. I know for me, I have a good enough memory to remember my childhood and the things that my parents did that didn't work for me, and where I felt powerless and where I felt frustrated and angry and all of that kind of stuff. And so I constantly keep that in my head about what would I like to have had happen in a given situation when I was in that position. And so I could just kind of put myself in his position when I'm like being overly authoritative or overly bossy and trying to just meet him. These are the parameters. This is what needs to be attended to. but I'm respecting you right now, and I hope that you'll. And the reason for that is that this is a mutual thing, that we respect each other, and I know nothing's always going to, or nothing, but things don't always work out the way we want them to, for you or for me, and so that's just part of life. But right now, and this is where it comes up, is like when you're stressed and you got to get somewhere, something's got to happen, and you may have more latitude, but in that moment where you're triggered and they're triggered, it's like, Brandon's really talking about the tools to diffuse the bomb that can go off, and then you have to go and make those repairs. And I've done a lot of that. I love to do that. It feels good to do that. And also, the less I need to do, the better, because that 100%. Means, I'm preempting the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of the things that I think the course does is it does help you understand how to parent. Like where's the position that you should be parenting from? What are the outdated beliefs and structures that we have been using that are ineffective when we see children today, essentially rebelling against a lot of these older tactics. And then we say, okay, well, if we go ahead and leave the old tactics, well, what do we do? Because we don't want to become permissive parents. We don't want to allow our children to just walk all over us.
Yep.
Yeah, and we also don't want to raise little entitled brats that believe that they should get something for every little thing they do. So you get kind of out in there, and I call it like the void, where you basically exit the punishment realm, and you don't want to enter the bribery realm. So you're just kind of floating out there going, yeah, what do we do?
Right.
And so this course answers that. It explains in great detail and with a lot of different examples and interactive exercises how to move into a place where you are getting better behavior from your children, more cooperation, more respect, without the use of punishment or bribery. And that's really what the entire course is all about. And anyway, so shameless plug there, but also it is really big news for us. And the reason it's news is because we're a small startup. So this is a big lift, and it's a really, really, really big cornerstone for our company and for what we're doing. I really believe that once you get the discipline side of the parenting down, there's so many cool things where you can go to, in other areas as a father. Like, everything else that you want to do kind of can come off of that as a foundation. And so this is one of the reasons that we started with this course. And again, already hearing some great feedback. One of the guys called it the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of parenting.
It's great.
And I was like, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of parenting, that's pretty good. He's
right
like,
up our alley.
Apparently, he says that form of jiu-jitsu was because of the weaker brother, and that in that one, it's a little bit more about like,
technique.
It's technique.
Yeah.
You're
not power.
You're not having to use as much power because you don't have as much power as you think. And then you got to use a specific type of technique to get what you want.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, that is awesome. And so he called it the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of parenting. That was maybe one of the coolest kudos I've ever had. So for sure.
And Brandon, just shameless plug again, like Brandon's been putting a truckload of energy. Like he's a guy who I think exemplifies constant and never-ending improvement, really trying to up his game, get more research, go to more courses, like digest this stuff. And then, the parenting becomes like a living laboratory of testing this stuff out and seeing like what works and what doesn't. And so that translates to you so that you can sort of mitigate the hard lessons, that you can kind of just go to like, oh, this works. And obviously, every situation is different, but I think human psychology isn't that much different. And so if we utilize those deep fundamental tools, I think we all move towards similar results, where it's a win-win for both parties, your child and for yourself. And so I just want to say like, that this is really coming from because it's certainly not about the money at this point, right? And this is being at the front of the wave. The mother's marketplace, let's say, is vast. Which is a plus and a minus if talking about business. In that obviously the audience is huge, but also the competition is huge, right? So here we're kind of at the front of this wave of like these dads, you guys who are paying attention, who really want to have stronger relationships with their kids, who are probably trying to break those chains or reverse the things that you didn't enjoy about your relationship with your father, if you even had one. I didn't really even have one. I did, but there was a lot I was missing in that. So, trying to make amends for those kinds of things with your own children. And then, it's kind of quicksand because, I guess we could sit and watch mom videos all day long, but it's, moms have a different role in spite of what certain media outlets would like to tell you. Moms have a different role than dads, right? And so finding our unique place and really leaning into that in a strong way is about finding our own place also within ourselves, right? And so, yeah, I just think we're at the beginning of something I think very, very important, because both this family and this sort of attack on the family is a problem, and both aspects of the family, like, we're going to need to gird ourselves and find our place and be strong in that and draw our lines and do what needs to be done to really protect that, I think. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, first of all,
soapbox.
John, thank you so much for saying that. And yeah, it has been a constant pursuit for one, being a better father, and also bringing you guys the very best information. And I feel very blessed that I can make this my primary focus, is to learn the best parenting strategies out there and then bring them to you. And then also, you're touching on something really, really important. First, I want to say another kudos to you. If you're listening to this, yes. Dude, huge kudos. You are already an exemplary dad. Like, you're already awesome because you're literally willing to put yourself out there and find information that will help you better yourself as a father.
Yeah.
There are a lot of dads that aren't doing that. There are a lot of dads that aren't showing up for their kids in that way. And so I just want to say you get a huge kudos just for listening, just for showing up. That's honestly half the battle. And
being willing.
Yeah. And then also you represent, I think, like John's saying, the beginning of this wave where we're starting to see more men involved in their child's life in a different way. The reason I think there's so many women programs, so many women like the mom groups, and so many different people who are speaking to those people is because they've been looking for it. They were looking for it from the time that they found out they were pregnant. How are they going to nurse? What are they going to do in terms of the sleeping schedules? Yeah. What are they going to do in terms of feeding? And so they get really hungry and they find all this information. Women do a really good job of procuring information regarding their parenting. And fathers, for a long time, have kind of been, and this isn't...
Leave it up to the mother.
And this isn't you, obviously, but have been kind of like, hey, moms will take care of it, right? Or, somebody else will, essentially. I'll focus on the business. I'll focus on making money for my family. I'll focus on bringing home the money, and then they will take care of the kids. Right. And we're starting to see today that that's just not the case anymore. Guys have come a long ways. You'll see more guys with, kind of the baby. Every time I think of the baby on the chest, which I wore a baby carrier, but is it The Hangover? I always picture him with his, what's that comedian's name?
Zach Galifianakis.
Galifianakis, dude. Yeah. That guy is so funny. And every time I think about the dad with the baby carrier, I actually picture Zach Galifianakis and his baby on there. It's just such an awesome scene. But needless to say, we see more dads pushing strollers, carrying babies and things like that.
Way more involvement.
And and
a lot of single dads too, a lot more. I mean, man, you almost, at least when I was a kid, I feel like you never saw it was all single moms, Yeah. And but now it's like, you have had interactions with dads reaching out to you who are just, in that single dad mode, and if they don't have primary custody, they have a substantial amount of custody, and that. That raises, for any single parent, that just raises so many questions and challenges in regards to how the state and our civilization handles that, and what accommodations or what, support networks or any of these things that are available when you're a single dad versus a single mom. Yeah,
I was a single dad for 5 years, and I know that it was always shocking to people, and they'd be like, wait, you're a single dad? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how long have you had custody of your son? I'm like, 5 years or whatever. And people be like, what? And where's the mom? And she's not in the picture. And that's a thing we're seeing more and more. We do hear from dads that are taking care of their little ones all on their own, and had Had a very sweet and dedicated dad call me this actually yesterday on Mother's Day, and he was like, "Man, I'm losing it. They got 2 kids right now, and one of them is absolutely just I cannot make them happy. They're just upset. I'm being worn out. They're only 1.5 years old, and my back's getting tired. I literally this child just is like needing me nonstop." And we had a quick session and just came up with some solutions. Talked to him about the visceral experience of, a toddler. And if you're in a house and you're in a certain environment, the child just, can't seem to get comfortable. This particular child was having attachment issues because his mommy was gone for the day. She got to have a Mother's Day away. And so this dad was doing it on his own. And we talked about changing up the visceral experience, like literally taking the baby outside, taking him into a different environment, giving him, birds to watch, letting him see and play with some grass, experiencing something totally new than maybe the apartment or whatever that they were in, because the child gets bored and is ready for something new. And then while they're having this attachment thing, they really need either some new stimulation or something that is going to help them feel either 1, fascinated, or 2, comfortable. And so the second piece of advice I gave him was to take and almost like swaddle the child, but have him wrapped up in a blanket really close to him and get on the couch and literally watch a movie with him. Like do something where, and you're not going to always use TV. Obviously, many people don't even want to at all. And I totally agree. This moment he was having kind of an emergency, and he just needed the child to be close, comfortable, and relaxed, because he had been going for hours without a relaxed toddler who was crying, and he was feeling really, really awful and just didn't want to call the mother. And so we had a quick session, and everything ended up working out really well.
That's good.
But it's cool to see these guys that are saying, "Hey, I'll take care of the kids." I'll and so anyways, I know these dads out here that are doing that are really, they represent the smaller part of a larger community as we continue to see dads get more involved.
Yeah, absolutely. That reminds me of a quick story. When my son was really little, couldn't get him to sleep at all. I put him in the chair, the little car seat chair. Oh, yeah. And brought him out to the car. It was probably like 9 at night, and just not having it, and just drove around the neighborhood. And he had been crying for hours, just trying to get him to sleep. As soon as we got in the car, drove around for about 5-10 minutes, he totally passed right out. So yeah, change of scenery can be very helpful. The distraction model is a really powerful tool. Mm-hmm. So leverage it as much as possible.
Yeah, especially with like little ones like that. I mean, if he's bored, he's just going to be thinking about mommy. If he's fascinated, it's hard for him to really think about anything else other than look how cool this bug is. Right. It's obviously different if he were sick. I asked him immediately, is he sick? Is he got an upset stomach? Right. Is he not feeling well? And he's like, no, he feels great. I can see that he'll go play for a second, and then he's right back to being
sadness.
Yeah, he's right back to being upset. And so we just decided to mix up the scene, try some different things, and then also whenever he needed a break to relax, to just wrap the baby up and get him nice and close, so he felt close to someone while they relaxed and brought the energy down.
I think that really speaks to one of the things that dads aren't typically good at is self-care, and that's a whole other thing that we'll be having many discussions about, I'm sure. But just being resourced enough so that when the ideal situation isn't unfolding as you would like it to, when everybody is just happy and getting on quite well, to have enough in your bank account, enough reserves that you can weather that storm with some level of grace. And so that's a whole discussion unto itself, but definitely there's the certain pride or this kind of thing in many men that's just like, oh, I'm good, just muscle through it, but that's not a good long-term strategy for any Herculean task that you may be required to participate in, and parenting can often be a Herculean task.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. So without knowing, the guy that, without you knowing this, you actually touched on something that he believed was the reason he was really struggling so much, is he shared that he had just worked basically like 2 12-hour shifts back to back. Yeah. And then Sunday gave the wife the
Right.
freedom to go out for the day.
Yeah, that'll do
and he was like, and he slept really, really poorly the night before. So he literally was like,
Perfect storm.
dude, I am just at like, he's like, I just have like no energy. I'm just gassed. I've worked so hard, and now I've got this baby that just cannot seem to get comfortable. It's been hours, and I just am trying to not like, call my wife back to the house. Like, I'm trying to do this. And he's like, I literally need help, man. I honestly, I thought of you, and I was like, well, I'm honored.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was a huge honor to be a resource for him on that. And so
awesome.
that was cool. So there's the course out. The course is out.
Check it out. Do we still have the 3-day? There's like kind of the free.
Yeah, there's still a free class. So the free
course.
class has been recorded. So if you go to bdadley.com, you can check out our free class. And then also a couple blogs. We've launched a blog this quarter.
Yeah.
We have some more blog posts coming out that are really, really good. Been writing a lot lately. And so we're going to put out basically a blog roughly every week. We may, maybe every other week, depending on what we have going on. But we're going to shoot for every week shooting out a new blog, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And there's already a couple great articles on there. One is how to motivate your children and getting them to contribute when maybe the stuff that you're asking them to do isn't so fun. So that's a great blog with a really practical advice on how to get kids to be actually motivated during those not so fun activities. And then the other one is actually just a personal story about me trying a radically different approach with my son Sheldon and getting a radically new result. Who'd have thunk it?
Spoiler, there's pie involved.
Yeah, that's right. And so, it's actually about giving him cherry pie. And when in any other case, I would have given him a punishment. So if you're interested in seeing how that story plays out,
that's a good one.
Go check out the blog. It's a very interesting thing. It was a super unique experience for me. It shifted me as a parent because it caused me to realize like, oh yeah, that little thing, that little quote that they use with Einstein about, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Yeah, maybe there's some merit to that because I decided to stop doing the same thing I'd been doing over and over. And guess what? I got a new result. So check out that on the blog. We also have a new sponsor. This is super cool. This is awesome. This is really exciting. So Genesee Nutrition Bars has decided to sponsor the B. Dadley podcast.
Indeed.
And this is the owner. His name is Will Carr, and Will Carr actually had an episode with us in the podcast. So
early
you can go
on.
back in one of the first seasons.
Season 1.
Season 1. You can find Will Carr. Great podcast. He is the founder of Genesee Nutrition Bars. These are like some ridiculously tasty, and I swear to you, I am not lying. These are the tastiest nutrition bars. I'm not just saying this because he's sponsored the show. He literally sent me a couple boxes after the podcast, and he was just saying, hey, thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Dude, me and my son, well, both my boys crushed through these boxes in just a couple of days, and they kind of destroyed them. But they were absolutely delicious.
Gonna have to hide them.
With the peanut butter and the Oreo were the our two favorites. And if you go to Genesee Nutrition, you can find their bars, and then you can also put in B Dadley 15, and you will get 15% off.
Yeah.
So thank you so much to Will Carr and to Genesee Nutrition for sponsoring the B Dadley Show. We really appreciate it.
Indeed.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah. One of the things too, I think, going back to what he said about the blog and the different things that we're putting out, is really trying to set ourselves up as an ecosystem that's not just us two, because we don't have all the answers, and then we have the guests and things like that, which is awesome. And we're trying to just give more value, more how-to, more practical, actionable tips for all these things that are the fullness of our expression of our lives, right? So one of the things we like to do with our ecosystem of dads is really recruit y'all who have different expertise in different areas, especially if you enjoy writing or you have tips or things that you can help, stories that you want to share, things like that, to really be a resource, like an outlet for that, that we can kind of harness the group, the hive mind in this fatherhood equation, and really just learn everything faster. Like, I mean, this is the age we're in where it's just like, I mean, that's the whole thing of Neuralink, right? One of the things is like, it was like, I know Kung Fu, right? Yeah. It's like, just click in and whatever you think about that, right? But just the fact that we have access to YouTube and podcasts and blogs and all of these different things can just really level us up in a much more efficient way than, any of our fathers had access to. And so, leveraging that and harnessing the brilliance that's out there of all you guys who are doing really cool things, practicing, experimenting. I mean, it is a lab. This pie story was an experiment, right? And it turned out awesome. And you guys are doing the same things, I'm sure, in your own life. And whether that's in the field of relationship, we had Larry Hagner on, and he has a relationship course, and he's got a whole world of content to develop or to share in that world. And of course, parenting. I mean, him and his son, who's a teen, just did what do you call it? Like muscle, like bodybuilding competition together, father-son bodybuilding competition. I was like, what? That's amazing, So these kinds of things where it's like relationships, the discipline issue, the connection part, like teaching your kids fundamental skills of living, primitive skills, all those things we learned in Boy Scouts, which are kind of like going by the wayside, and really resourcing up that way, how to be more entrepreneurial and be able to control your time and your destiny, and teaching that to your children. Like, I didn't have any good money lessons, when I was a kid. So I got my son I say my son, but really for the whole family, the rat race game from the Four Quadrants, but what's that guy's name? The guy who's
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, Robert Kiyosaki. He's got a great game about like how to be an investor, how to think about money in a different way, right? And I was like, I don't necessarily know how to teach these things. I'm learning myself all the time, but I was like, a game, right? Of course, that's the best way. Of course, I got him the adult game, not realizing there was a simpler kid game that I could have got. But hey, just go hard, like go to the deep end straight away. So these kinds of things, I think, are just like, you guys are a wealth of resources, and to be able for you to interact with each other. I mean, this is what the Facebook page is. If we need to create a group that's specific to certain people, maybe do you have that with the course yet? A specific Facebook group?
So we have a group that's coming out that's going to be the alumni. Yeah. So you do have to take the course for that particular group to be a part of it, just because that way that you've already got the background, you're
the language,
speaking the same language, exactly. The same tools. But we don't have a private Facebook group yet for maybe our listeners, which would be something that we could probably start up.
Write that down.
Yeah.
And you let us know, you're watching this stuff, you're, kind of lurking and stalking maybe our content. By the way, follow our socials, right? We've got Instagram, that's Be Dadly Official, right? We've got Facebook, which is the same, Be Dadly Official. We've got YouTube. We can't put a name on that yet because, you have to earn your right to put the tag at the youtube.com/. So it's like some combination of nonsense. But, just look up Be Dadly Show and you should be able to find it. And we've got the podcast on the major podcast platforms. So, there are ways to reach out to us. Probably Instagram's kind of the most efficient, but like reach out to us and let us know what you would like to see more of. Like, where are the areas specifically that you need help? What are the things that you're struggling with? Because if we don't have the answer, like, we probably know somebody who does have the answer, and we can at least like give you some direction. I mean, we've been hit up with some questions that are out of our league. Like, we are blessed to have children who are fully functioning kids. Some dads are dealing with kids who have autism or some, handicap or some challenge that it's next level. We don't have the expertise to deal with that, but we're constantly hit up by people, professionals, therapists, like these people in these different worlds that we could at least be a resource and point you in the right direction, which is what we've often done with people who reach us who we can't help directly in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you can also email us too at support@bdadley.com.
Yeah.
You could send us an email and yeah, I think it would be awesome to have some of you dads that, particularly if you've developed a skill or a trade, and you've been hardened, you've done it for a long time.
Absolutely.
You're really well versed in something.
Level of mastery.
You've got a level of mastery, and you'd love to share some things with some other dads that you think that would be useful. Maybe you know a dad. Maybe you know a dad that is a really badass dad. Like you're literally like all caps. That guy is a badass. If that's the case, why don't you send us over, create a contact with us at bdadley at support@bdadley.com, and create an intro. We have lots of opportunities for the rest of this year to pack the schedule with some really awesome guys. Absolutely. And we still have several in the pipeline, but for sure, let's add some more on. So if you know somebody you think would be a good interviewee, a good guest on the show, please also send them our way as well.
Absolutely.
The other thing we did is a fishing trip.
Yeah, we did our contest, right? We had this idea to. We're both outdoorsy people. Brandon's been a lifelong kind of fishing, hunting. His dad comes from that stock, so them boys was brought up right. And so I was like, man, you're such a. He took my son and I out fishing with his kids, and I was just like, man, bro, you could be a guide. Like you're just so natural at this. And he's like, yeah, well, okay, but I don't want to do that for a job.
They don't make very much money, unfortunately.
Right, yeah, your impact.
Although I would totally do it if I could just never, if money wasn't a thing, I could totally guide and actually really quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
I know that's something to pay attention to, but I also have I have a very high standard for things I need, and I don't know that the fishing guide money would quite do it.
Quite cover that, yeah. You got to find a gold sunken ship with gold on it first, and then transition. But yeah, so he was so good at that. My son caught fish. He was so stoked. I caught 28-inch redfish. It was awesome. We had such a good time, and I was like, man, other dads need to experience this. And this part of this vision and mission that we have is really kind of integrating this outdoor, just like these manly skills. I don't know, whatever that means, but it's like obviously daughters and women do all this stuff all the time too. But that lack of an opportunity to connect, I think nature's a really amazing facilitator of that, and also doing things that you're both uncomfortable with at the same time, where it's no longer this hierarchy. So that's like a really good opportunity when you're learning these primitive skills or things that you haven't touched maybe for a long time. And so I was like, man, we need to do like a contest. We need to take other dads. How should we do this? And blah, blah, blah. So, fast forward, we ended up doing this contest. We had a number of entries, and we chose a winner. And so we took them out not too long ago, and it was a dad with 3 boys. Mm-hmm. And wasn't the best weather or whatever, but the boys were troopers. I mean, everybody it was great. It was just a really great, and, we didn't catch all the fish that we wanted to catch. Of course, you never do, but we caught a lot. They caught a lot. And I think it's just one of those experiences that they have created together as a family unit that they're going to tell stories about down the road. And this is what we're, it's like solving the challenges within ourselves so we have better relationships, and then creating an environment where you can explore and really build upon those relationships in a really powerful way. And I think so, doing camping trips, we want to do a gun safety course with a really amazing dad friend of ours who's like a tactical guy, more fishing trips down the road, creating summer camps for dads and their kids, and really, finding ways to like bond. I know, many kids have the most amazing memories of summer camps, but they're sans parents, it's usually just kind of out on their own, and the parents like take a break. But I think, it's a good time to do both. Yes, they should have that time, and that's all valuable too. But like, we need summer camp. I need summer camp. Mm-hmm. Brandon needs summer camp. Like, we need opportunities for ourselves to just be in that somewhat kind of like exploratory, childlike state. And that's one of the things that Brandon talks about a lot is like, what's the percentage of time you're in your bossy adult get shit done state, and what's the percentage of time you're in your child state. And it's like, what do the kids want? They want you to be in your child state. So what better opportunity to facilitate that than these kinds of these kind of opportunities to get out in the world and really like do it together and be ignorant, like not know what you're doing, and so that your kid can see how you handle uncertainty and a lack of competence without it being something that you feel some weird shame or guilt, or like you should know how to do this even though you never do it. It's just like, no, of course you shouldn't know. You've never done it. That's what's beautiful about it. This is how we keep learning, we keep evolving, and keep the neurons firing.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a super, super fun trip. We had some, not so great weather, which can happen when you plan a fishing trip. You never get to pick the weather, but we made do, and we ended up catching some really nice fish. Caught a really, really nice trout.
Trout was gorgeous.
One of the kids that pulled it in. I remember seeing the photos. Like, that trout is almost as long as that kid, which was pretty cool.
That's great.
So that was a really cool experience, and got to help them make a memory, and that's really what it's about. Totally. Honestly, I think about this a lot with my parenting with my son. Is during the day, whenever I see him kind of starting to kind of need some attention, wanting to do something one-on-one, I think in my head, what can we do to make a memory? Mm-hmm. How can I right now take a moment and really try to make a little memory with him, whether that's building a fort, feeding his bearded dragons and making a short video about it, going out on a walk and going and seeing what we can find, in terms of lizards or insects, or looking at different flowers. Right now, we've had a lot of flowers blooming, so been learning different flowers, and it's just an opportunity to make a memory. That's what it's really about. And so this fishing trip was an opportunity. So I'm sure we'll be doing another giveaway soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, something this fall.
We've got a cool video that'll come out where we kind of captured some footage of their experience, and I think that's going to be really, really great. So we'll get to get that out. You guys get to check out a little bit of what we were up to. What else?
What other news?
Yeah, what other news do we have?
What's in the news today, Dan?
As you can imagine, all of this stuff takes a lot of energy.
Yes.
And it's also a lot of joy. Honestly, I get so much pleasure from working on dad stuff. And one of the reasons is because when I hear from these other dads, things that are really helping them, things that are really working, and the kind of difference, like heard from a dad, and I literally shared tears with the dad on the phone call, just hearing from him that his son said, "I love you." And he hadn't heard that from his son in like so long, literally like, it was enough to bring him to tears. And next thing I know, I'm crying on the call, and it was tears of joy, right? These are tears of joy. These are good tears to hear "I love you" from your son, and you just want to hear that. Yeah. And then finally, he does that. He responds in that way. It's huge. My son has a what do they call it? Avoidant attachment style. Mm-hmm. Mainly because around his mother and having to leave him having to leave his mother early, and then her kind of stepping out of the picture. He has some abandonment issues, and so he's got some attachment issues. And so his attachment style is what's called an avoidant attachment. And what that can often mean is like he doesn't necessarily feel like a hug for him. His body can get rigid instead of warm and cuddly. It can cause him to feel rigid. And it's a defense mechanism. It's like basically like I've been hurt. Yeah. So in order to prevent myself from being hurt again, I'll be defensive. Now, me and him have been working on this for years, and he's gotten a lot better over the years with things like affection and stuff like that. And this work, doing this dad work, has been obviously the biggest difference maker. That along with all the therapy and work that we did, and because therapy can be essential sometimes.
Absolutely.
So that along with that. But recently, my son and I have had a very, very, very warm relationship. And this weekend, I got one of the warmest hugs I've ever had from him. Wow. It was a really, really sweet moment. And it's these kinds of moments that this is what we're chasing. We're chasing the memories and the sweet, loving moments where you go, okay, we're connected. We have something going on here. So it was a really special opportunity that I had. Wanted to share it, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I didn't know about that. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, in terms of the attachment aversion and all that kind of stuff, and just like how long that lasts, But yeah, it's beautiful. That's one of the things that I think that you by doing just, I mean, you don't know the impact of sometimes your actions until down the road when your kid is older and then they become a parent, and I am not there yet. He's not there, we're not there yet, but you can see the writing on the wall. It's like he's taken all of this stuff in, and he's in his teen mode and he's doing all those things too. But it's like, this is the thing. If you plant those seeds early and deep, it's like things may look a little wonky because we all go through that. It's just part of the process in those teenage years. But what you'll find is that's the source that they'll come back to, is these really strong roots that you've planted with them. And then they'll be, then they're standing on the shoulders of all of the work that you've put in. And then they can take that to the next level, and that's, for me, that's one of the things that wasn't why I waited so long, but I think the value of having waited so long to have a kid was that I worked through a lot of stuff before I jumped on that path. And I feel like what I'm trying to do is like clear the runway, so that my kid, because we're in strange times, man. And so they need to be resourced and feel like grounded and loved, and like that they're not going to spend, the next 10 years trying to unravel things that happened to them through bad parenting, that because we didn't do the work, now we just keep passing it on. Right? What was that quote that Javon said?
Yeah, it ran in the family until it ran into me.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Absolutely.
So,
I'll never forget that quote.
It's good. So, just thinking like that, it's like, okay, man, we're just clearing the runway so this kid can just kick major ass without having to unravel a bunch of stuff. I feel like if I came out of that environment, I probably would be further along in my just artistic path, creative things. There's a lot of stuff that I've had to struggle with, in terms of my own development, my own insecurities and things like that. So yeah, that's, having that awareness, and the fact that you're watching this right now means that you're on the path. So give yourself some love for that, and keep on keeping on. We got running out of time, so let's see what else are we talking about. What else is news? We've got. I think we might be doing something. Hopefully at Utopia Fest. So we had that's right.
We had a guest on, and
Travis Sutherland, founder of Utopia Fest.
Yes, and Travis, we may do a collaboration, and we'll kind of keep you posted on that. But may do a collaboration
That's
at
exciting.
Utopia Fest here in Texas.
Yeah,
and really want to encourage you guys to check out Utopia Fest.
It's amazing.
It was definitely, when we talk about making a memory,
yes,
this is the kind of place where you would do just
super
that.
kid friendly, outdoors, camping, great music, great vibe, self-governing, none of this nonsense that a lot of these festivals are doing. And also not the volume of people that makes those festivals kind of have to adhere to some of that. It just, it calls out a different quality in people and a different kind of people to attend this. I was actually there filming a short documentary for them not the most recent one, but last October. And the vibe is par excellence. It's nothing like you've ever attended, most likely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so there's cool stuff like that coming up as well. And then we're going to start a round 2, probably in about 45 days now, round 2 of Dadly Discipline.
Nice.
We'll have the opportunity, if you want to sign up, you want to go through the course with us. It's a 30-day course with 8 weeks of group coaching. So you can fully integrate everything that you are learning in the course. At a
ridiculously low price.
Yeah, absolutely.
For what the value you're getting, seriously, you're not going to find it. This is really good stuff. This is legit. This will change your dynamic with your kid for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we wanted to keep it affordable and make it where it's accessible. We know that a lot of the dads that really, really, really need this,
yeah,
they don't have an enormous amount of money to just throw out there. And speaking of that, if maybe you are the kind of dad that does have that kind of money, we'd love for you to sponsor people. There are people that have reached out. We have some people in our group right now that Be Dadly has sponsored because money was tight.
Yeah.
But they needed this information. And so Be Dadly sponsored a few, but we're always looking for opportunities to get more people in and get them involved. And some of the people that really, really need this sometimes struggle to be able to afford it. So maybe if you're feeling generous and you'd like to sponsor someone, you could shoot me an email at brandon@bedadly.com and say, hey, I'd like to sponsor a dad that really needs this. And that would be super awesome. We'll obviously get you an entry into the course, and then be able to get another dad that maybe isn't struggling to afford it. So
and then we'll have a little brick with your name on it.
Right.
I don't know where to put it, but we'll have a brick with your name on it.
It would be cool to start to build a wall of all the people that sponsored the Be Dadly show
for the course, the classroom that we'll ultimately have, right? The campus that we're building. One of the things too, before we forget, we're doing so the YouTube is its own ecosystem, right? So we've just utilized it as basically a platform for these podcasts. And, if you go into the whole rabbit hole of YouTube, there's a way to optimize that, and there's a way that people consume all that information and all that kind of thing. So the podcast isn't really for that. That's what Spotify and all these other platforms are for. But it's good to have it up there anyway. And we are getting... it's pretty good. Listenership's going up, and especially certain podcasts are getting a lot more. I mean, at that point, it's a viewership, right? But there's not much to look at. So what we want to do, or what we are doing, we started a new series called Power Parenting 101. And so Brandon's done the first video of that. We're coming up with a slew of questions, the most frequently asked, the FAQs, and doing a series that's very much about the strategies that he's learning in this process, and just the common parenting struggles, really attending to those things. Two reasons. One is because obviously people are asking. If the search queries show, thousands of questions in a particular area, probably makes sense to answer those questions with our own, set of parameters and our own background on that. But also it helps us create a better ecosystem economically for what we're trying to do here, because this is all just kind of out of pocket, right? So, when we get more views, we get more sponsorship opportunities that are aligned with what our dads are into. When we get more views, we can, kind of create affiliate programs and things like that to show off some of the other fathers that we work with and their programs, areas where, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, we can just redirect. And so, we're going to be upgrading the YouTube channel, Power Parenting 101. That will be on the Be Dadly channel, but it'll be its own playlist, basically. And then if you have other ideas or things, that you would like to see, like, we're talking about doing gear reviews and things like that, both of us are really into guns. So, that fishing gear, more maybe a channel that's kind of more around the outdoor adventure kind of stuff.
I'd love to do a playlist channel for entrepreneurship.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Entrepreneur, answers for especially dads, because if you're a dad and you're an entrepreneur, you see all these, whatever, God bless them, 20 and 30-year-olds who don't have any other responsibilities, who are just like grinding. And it's like, it's not the same for us. Like, we want to be dads. That's why we're doing this thing, right? We've committed to that one way or the other, planned or unplanned, right? And so that requires a different relationship with your time management, and your ability to resource yourself so that you're resourced for your child, right? What's the definition of hero?
Oh, it's strength for two. That's all you got to do. Have strength for two.
Strength for two.
At least the original definition of hero.
Yeah. So, that's a different dynamic than I think when we're having somebody who doesn't have any of those things upon them, and they can just kind of keep churning and burning and not have to think about all these other things. So I think that's what's really important about what we're bringing to the table in terms of entrepreneurial advice, is really about entrepreneurial advice within the context of being fathers, some of us single fathers, right? And not necessarily having a partner to lean on about that. So it's like really got to be practical, effective, actionable skill sets that we're trying to teach you guys and bring other people on to teach you guys where we don't have that skill.
In fact, a productivity playlist regarding parenting, how to be productive while being a parent, I think would be a really cool playlist. So yeah, we've got some cool stuff. That channel, the playlist that we're creating right now for the parenting side of things, for, you know, getting better cooperation and those kinds of things, and what to do with your children, for example, if they won't go to sleep, or any of these little questions that people are out there asking about, we're going to give it to you in that series. And I'm really super excited about it. There's a great video out there right now, but we are going to be putting out video after video after video, and they're going to be much more focused. These are like less than 10 minutes long. So
and hit us up in the comments, because that helps. I mean, that's a quick and efficient way to like ask a question that we can attend to without us having to sift through emails and all of that kind of stuff. You just sort of like let us know straight away, you know, what you took away from the video. Again, like all the other guys, like and subscribe and get the notifications. So that'll help, because as we, you know, if you guys do that, that'll help our material get out to more dads. And we'd like to not have to use, you know, that kind of provocative way to get attention, and just have the attention really be about the solutions that we're trying to help offer, instead of playing the algorithm game, you know. So, you know, one of the ways we can do that is just have genuine interaction with those videos, and then, you know, signing up, subscribing, you know, joining that. And then, you know, the more detailed stuff will come out. And if you sign up, the thing about signing up to the email list itself is really good, because that's the people who are on that list are the first ones to hear about the contests. They're the first ones to get the, you know, the early bird discounts on events, or
they're the first ones to know about the blog post.
That's right. The video, like all of this stuff, you're kind of like first in the queue for all that stuff. So membership has its benefits.
It also, and it also comes along with a number of strategies. There's up to, I think it's over 2 months worth of weekly emails that will provide you with a strategy that you can use with your children. And they're really super powerful. We get responses all the time in those emails about how effective they are. So definitely go in there and sign up for that at bedadly.com.
Absolutely.
Cool, man.
Anything else?
No, dude, this has been an awesome quarter already. I mean, I see the seeds sprouting, and I'm hearing back from the dads.
Such good feedback.
There's so many good things going on. So we are full steam ahead.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, I wanted to sort of talk about like, what are some of the challenges, right? You know, because it's not a bunch of us doing all of this kind of stuff. But I don't want to end on that. But I will say, like, if there are things that we can improve on immediately, please let us know. You know, we are always trying to up our game, and you know, there's cost in gear, there's cost in time, there's all these kinds of things that we're attending to. And we would love to have more staff or volunteers. Definitely, you know, if you've got skills in, you know, copy, social media, search engine optimization, things like that. If you have, if you're a guide, maybe you are a guide, you know, we can collaborate with you and create a partnership, a hunting guide or a teacher of something that's like kid and adult friendly, and you know, anything having to do with optimization in terms of any of the web oriented stuff, sales and all of that kind of stuff. We'd love to hear from you. Create some reciprocal partnerships, you know, even barter, or you know, do a barter relationship with the training, you know, do some of those trades, which I love to do. So let us know. I mean, the world is vast and the talent pool is immense. So let's work together on those things. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. Well, that's all we got for you today. And we just want to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of this community and for everything that you are already doing. And we look forward to doing even more with you. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've received some value from it, please share it with other dads and consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll see you in the next episode. Looking for support with your fatherhood journey? Go to bedadly.com and take our Dadly Disposition quiz and learn helpful insights on how you can overcome power struggles with your kids.